Cosmic.
Ever since the Miss Marvel series has come out, for the last 6 weeks I've been waking up early just to watch the episode straight when it comes out because I love Marvel that much. Since the final episode has come out, I've been wondering, is this show a good show? And is it worth rewatching anytime you want? Because Marvel has made some good shows and some bad shows in the past, like WandaVision being on the bad side, even though it was a decent watch, and with Moon Knight being one of the best shows as well as Loki. And go on ahead, add Falcon and Winter Soldier up there as well, I love that show as well. God, really feel bad for WandaVision. So that's why I'm making a tier list for every single Marvel show they make. And in today's video, I'll be seeing which tier should Miss Marvel be in. And before I get into this video, remember there is going to be a bunch of spoilers for the show, so I recommend go watch it first, then come back to the video. With all the spoiler warnings out of the way, let's get into the video. Before the first episode of Miss Marvel came out, I was a bit skeptical on how they were going to do the show, and if it was going to be very comic accurate to her backstory. Because they're not doing a Terrigen Mist on how she got it in the comics, and she's not going to have powers like Reed Richards from Fantastic Four. Her powers are more cosmic, like Captain Marvel, basically. So when the trailer came out and they showed that her power was going to be very, very different from how it is in the comics, let's just say me and a lot of people were a bit skeptical on how they do it. So when the first episode came out, I'm not going to lie, I fucking loved it. I was just very excited on how they were going to take the series. I'll be honest, I probably like her powers more in the MCU than the comics. And Marvel did something they never did before. They hired an actor who has never had any prior acting experience as the role for Kamala Khan. I'm not going to try and pronounce her name because I don't want to fuck it up and embarrass myself, but here's her name, here's the actor. She has had no prior acting experience before Miss Marvel, but she did an amazing job in this series in my opinion. So with all the episodes of Miss Marvel, they stuck to their original 6-episode plan, with each series they've done, like they've done with Moon Knight, Hawkeye and Loki, with episode 1 being her introduction and how she got her powers, the second episode of her training her powers and meeting one of the main antagonists of the series, with the third one her attending her brother's wedding and she gets ambushed by the people who she thought she was trying to help her, but ended up being the bad guys. With episode 4 with Kamala trying to find out more about the bangle and how she's able to get her powers from her nanny. And episode 5 being a backstory to her family on how they got the bangle and where the bad guy came from. And with the final episode where Kamala fights against damage control to protect Bruno and all her friends. The best thing about the final episode though, it's called No Normal like the comic book issue, which introduced Miss Marvel into the comics. Now after watching all the episodes of Miss Marvel from the last 6 weeks, I can safely say my opinion on this show is a bit iff. The villains in this show wasn't all that good, and with Comrade being a sort of good guy and bad guy at the end, like, it was kind of just a weird mixture of bags there. And with Comrade's mum killing herself when trying to enter her world, which, it was a surprise, but it wasn't a good one, and it kind of made a whole huge plot hole in the story, which I could not make sense of. Though the fight scenes and everything in this show has been fucking amazing, like the fight scene at the wedding, the fight scene when they're running through the city, and the final one in episode 6, which was amazing, and how they got Kamala to do her embiggen ability from the comics, which I was really hoping they did, and I loved how they did it. So they're making her powers more comic accurate, but less like Reed Richards, as I said. And I love the fact that Damage Control now has Stark Industry drones that were in Far From Home, because in No Way Home they seized Stark Industries to take them away from the company because of Peter Parker being exposed as Spider-Man from Mysterio, and they blame him for the death and the destruction in London. So a cool little continuity detail there. Another thing I love is in episode 1 when they went to Avengercon, if you pause every single second in this, you can see everyone cosplaying nearly everyone in the MCU, which I absolutely love, and it reminds me of when I went to conventions. I absolutely love them. And another great thing, at the end of the show, they made Kamala sit on a lamppost, just like how she was in the comics. And they finally confirmed that she is somewhat mutated, so now they've finally confirmed, or somewhat confirmed, they're going to bring in the X-Men, so that was a good little scene as well. And in the post-credit scene of episode 6, it showed Miss Marvel switching places with Captain Marvel, who end up teleporting her #1's fan's room, which, if that was me, I'd be pretty creeped out. But it's also confirming the Marvels film, which can have Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Photon, who was in WandaVision. And to be honest, I can't wait for the film. It does sound promising right now, but only time can tell. With all the episodes though, I think the first and last episode were the best ones out of the entry, and the middle ones go from good and bad and somewhat in the middle, but I didn't mind all the episodes. All of them were great in their own way. And the villains weren't that great, and they were killed off pretty much. And with the whole threat in this series, I don't really think they were that good, compared to all the other ones in every other series they've done so far. But the rhyme for each character, like Kamala's parents, her friends, and some of the bad guys, and Comrade, were perfectly written. They were perfectly written characters, and the series managed to make them very likeable to the audience. The CGI was amazing, the visual effects were amazing, and Kamala's powers looked absolutely beautiful. I absolutely prefer her powers how they look in the MCU than the comics, as I've said. And honestly, I'm looking forward to where they take Miss Marvel's character in the future of the MCU. So with where I think Miss Marvel should be on the tier list, I believe it should be an A tier because although the series was amazing, some of the writing was a bit off. The villains weren't all that terrifying or that bad of a threat, basically. And it kind of kills the whole rewatchability of the show. Like with me, I'd be more excited with watching episode 1 and 6 than the middle ones compared to it all. But it wasn't the worst show in the world, so I'm going to give it an A tier. It cannot stand up to how Loki and Moon Knight were because those two shows were perfectly written and amazing and made me excited every week for every episode. Even though Miss Marvel did that as well, but not as much as those other two shows. Well, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed me talking without a script about the whole Miss Marvel show. Honestly, I had fun watching it for the last 6 weeks. It's really enjoyable. I love anything Marvel because I'm probably one of the biggest Marvel nerds out there. That's probably a lie. I've seen people who are worse than me. But just remember, this is my personal choice on how I feel about the show. So if you guys have a different opinion, leave a comment down below on what you think of it because I would love to hear everyone else's opinion on this show. And if you want to see me do more Marvel content in the future or any more commentary videos in the future, let me know as well. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.